President Cyril Ramaphosa would get full marks if the State of the Nation address were judged solely on its presentation. He resumed his speech enthusiastically after a 45-minute break and remained so throughout. It's admirable that Ramaphosa didn't show any signs of irritation during a particularly vexing moment. As infuriating as it was for some, what we saw and heard on Thursday night was an honest depiction of the state and our country. The EFF and the Democratic Alliance did not act or say anything out of character. EFF politics include theatrics which are used to dramatize defiance. As a result, the party's president, Julius Malema, is one of the most recognizable faces in the country, if not the continent. The impact of antics, on the other hand, is situational as they feed on the disillusionment. They receive applause in the subject of their antics is a well-known figure who appears to be untouchable. Their embarrassment of the revealed and feared figure appears brave, elevating them to heroic status. Jacob Zuma was an ideal candidate for the EFF. The EFF was doing what Parliament and the ANC were not doing by holding Zuma accountable. They were accomplishing what most decent South Africans wished could be accomplished. The EFF received support for standing up for the public, even from people who would not normally vote for them. These are voters who, while generally turned off by Malema's vitriol, were more than happy to send his party back to continue heaping misery on Zuma in the 2014 election. Today, that tactical voter of 2014 is unlikely to find the EFF appealing. They have the wrong target and the mood doesn't quite agree. Ramaphosa is highly differential, if not contrite. On the surfacing of the Pala saga, he quickly submitted to the law enforcement agencies and never said anything hostile against the investigation. That he even suggested resigning was a sign of contrition. To hound him on stage over something under investigation and before courts can't possibly count in EFF's favor. That would have been warranted if they were dealing with a hostile figure, but Ramaphosa has been quite an opposite, submissive and contrite. Their antics made them appear to be bullies and impolite. That is why the party primarily appeals to voters who are dissatisfied with the system. This is a small constituency which explains the party's slow growth. These voters are not enthusiastic about voting because they do not believe the system will ever work for them. They wonder why they bother. The DA leader John Steenhuisen also misread the situation. Steenhuisen objected to the police entering the house before the speaker summoned them. Addressing the issue directly, Nosiviwe Mapisa Nkula appears to suggest that the turbulence of the moment with the EFF members of parliament crowding the podium was enough to prompt the police to enter the house. At the time, protecting the president took precedence over all other considerations. Steenhuisen stood on a technicality and it wasn't clear whether he was correct. His objection not only made him appear opportunistic, but it also lacked empathy. Was his questioning whether the police had permission to shield the president from what appeared to be a potential attack the best reaction from the leader of the official opposition? Ramaphosa correctly assessed the state of the nation. We have gathered here at a time of crisis, he said earlier in his remarks. The crisis is one of the energy scarcity and his speech focused on that. Two of Ramaphosa's initiatives are not worthy for a purpose here: State of the Energy Disaster and Minister of Electricity. The necessity of declaring a state of disaster is widely debated. Despite disagreements, few doubt the severity of the economic damage caused by power shortages. It's a common sad story and it's almost all anyone talks about. People agree that drastic measures must be taken immediately. That is the extent of general agreement. There is disagreement about whether this government can be trusted to carry out the emergency measures honestly. This is due to the fact that emergency measures will include procurement. The last time procurement was allowed to deviate from standard processes, massive fraud occurred. All of the theft that occurred during COVID-19 is still fresh in people's minds. They are disturbed by the prospect of officials being given free rein to make purchases no matter how critical they are.